Hey, this is Bart in Highway Blues Guitars, and recently I've been making paddle guitars. And so this is what they start out like. Well, it's a piece of 1x2 from Lowe's, red oak, and I glue some wood on here. I can't remember if this is, I think this is black walnut that I've got on here, and then I've got some poplar and some yellow wood, and then some red cedar fencing on there. And so I glue them all up and then cut them out. And then here's what they look like in the end. This is the left-handed one made for a friend of mine, Bart Lee. Fishing lure bridge, a 400 ohm pickup from MGB, logo burnt in, and the back. This is how I've grounded the strings. Since my bridge isn't metal, I put a piece of aluminum here and a grounding wire going through to one of the mounting screws, and then holes through where my strings go, and so that grounds it. And I've also put some shielding on here. I don't know if you can see the copper foil in there around the pot and the jack. This one's autographed, but I think it looks pretty nice with the lacquer on it. And I'm trying out a new wireless setup. My original one was $150, and this was like $30 or $40 on Amazon. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, as I was communicating with Rick, his family, the Lee family, his sister married my cousin, and so I did a lot of things with their family. And they had Rick had two younger brothers. They were twins, Bret and Bart Lee, and so I would go out hunting with them and rock climbing and rappelling. And I was still learning about how to hunt and how to rock climb and rappel, and so we had a lot of funny things happen doing that. And he said, "Oh yeah, my brothers and I, we got together the other day, and your name came up, and the Belview Incident came up." And I was like, "The Belview Incident?" I'm like, "What's the Belview Incident?" Do you ever have like different names for stories, and you hear this story that you've carried around for a long time, but it's called some other name, and that's what this was. And it took me a while to like, oh, Belview Incident. What was the Belview that involved my Volkswagen Beetle? I was like, well, I did get it stuck some places, but usually got it out. But usually I took my four-wheel drive truck out hunting when I would go deer hunting with the boys, and like, oh, I remember the Belview Incident. So because it's an old story, I thought I would use my old-timey microphone that I made and tell it in a radio announcer voice. The Belview Incident. So, I was going to take Bret and Bart Lee out hiking up this mountain in the Pioneer Range called Hindman Peak. And it would make sense to take my four-wheel drive truck there, because then I could drive further up this four-wheel drive mountain road. And my cousin had been borrowing it, and he was going to give me some gas. And so we were driving to the gas station, and I pulled out in front of this little Subaru in a 45-mile-an-hour section, but the Subaru must have been going 70 or something like that. And I didn't judge the distance right. And he slammed into me, and he was faulted because he was speeding in the 35 or 40-mile-an-hour zone. But it totaled his car, and it just made a little dent in my bumper. Go old four-wheel drive Chevys, right? Anyway, when the police came, they said that I needed to go to the police station to fill out a report. So I didn't feel comfortable driving the truck around, because somehow I had kept the registration in my dorm room with the title, thinking like that was a safe place, not realizing you're supposed to have it in the car. And so because I didn't have it in the truck, I'm down to my Volkswagen Beetle. So I pick up the twins and all their camping gear and sleeping bags and stuff like that, and drive to the police station. Now the problem with the Volkswagen was I was the mechanic for it, and I wasn't fixing it that well, and it needed a new starter, and so we had to push start it every time we were going. Unless we were on a hill, then you just coast down the hill and pop the clutch. Also, the right blinker didn't work. But anyway, we go to the police station. I fill out the form, jump back in, push start the car, and driving down the road. And just before I'm getting ready to turn off to the Forest Service road, I see this police car following me. And I'm thinking, well, I'm about to turn right. Can I just use my hand signal? And will that be allowed? And then he pulls me over. And so I'm like, must have filled out the form wrong. So I jump out of the car. I'm like, hey, did I fill out the form wrong? And he pulls out his pistol and pulls the hammer back. And he's like, stop, don't come any closer. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Like, when you wave that pistol at me, you make me really nervous. Like, well, you're making me nervous too. And pretty soon, a couple other police cars come, and 5 policemen are holding me at gunpoint. And they're talking about whether or not to shoot into the car. I'm like, there's 2 14-year-old boys in the car. I'm like, do they have any weapons? Do you have any weapons? And I was like, they probably have a couple pocket knives. And so they're all SWAT teaming it around, and they get the boys out of the car at gunpoint. And we're all go back to the police station, and I'm in jail all afternoon. And it turns out that there was a typo, and somebody had typed in my license plate wrong, and that they had said the plates were stolen, but they weren't. But they would never let me prove that by showing them the registration that I actually had in the car. And anyway, by the time they figured out their mistake, the parents had come. They said it was okay that I still take the kids to hike up this mountain, and so that was it. And then a week later, they put an official apology out in the paper, and my dad was definitely furious that the one guy had pulled the hammer back and was all shaky and everything. So that's the Belview incident. Now I can go back to not having my radio voice and show this guitar a little more. So this is for Rick, and he is left-handed, and I am not. But I'll play it. I'll play a little brown sugar lick just because I can do that backwards. But. Did I already show this close to the camera? Okay, but one last time. Okay, all right.